Just the one?
No, oh, I have two, sorry.
Okay.
How are you today?
Yeah. Like the moisture on
I never looked at my gauge, but somebody had on Facebook that on West City Limits Road and 27th had 2¼ inch.
Really? Oh, my lord.
He's a mile away and got an inch. He's a mile from us. We got 2 inches
Did you?
We did.
in our gauge.
I had
Well,
at
then,
8 o'clock
yeah.
this morning, I had,
Ah,
but this was from the other day too, an inch.
well, the water was really splashing on the highway here, the cars going, I mean, that water was just, so
Yeah.
it really built up on the road, because it came down so
So
fast.
it came down so fast.
Yeah.
Being 3 o'clock by my watch, I'll call the meeting to order. Please stand for pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Why don't you come up and join us in the front instead of sitting way in the back? We're- Okay. Take a roll call, please.
Okay, Wanda, Dan, Ryan,
Here.
John,
Here,
Don.
Here, thank you. Is there any reason for any of the commissioners to abstain from this because of a conflict of interest on our discussion today?
I have none.
I have none.
I have none. I'd entertain approval of the agenda.
I move.
I'll second.
Discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Public comment. Mike? Okay, thanks. Purpose of our meeting today is to review our present efforts on developing a strategic plan for Yankton County. And we've got 2 items that were selected out of the several that we previously decided to focus on. And one of them is involving the highway department, and the other involves technology. And so we'll work through those together. I think I'll start with John. And one of the things that we probably haven't spent time on yet that we really need to do is review our vision statement and our mission statement that will apply to each strategic plan that we have put in place. So what I'd like for each of us to do is in the next week or so is think about a vision statement and a mission statement, and look at our present one and see if we probably should look at any kind of changes on it. I guess in looking at Yankton County will be a dynamic place with a strong sense of history. I'm not sure having a strong sense of history is a visionary. It may be the basis of your decision-making, but it isn't looking out to the future. But those are the kinds of things that I think we should concentrate on and come up with a vision statement that we all feel comfortable with. John, you've provided copies of your proposed strategic plan for the highway department. Do you want to take over?
Sure. What I did is I kind of put the format together off of one that I kind of looked at over on the internet and just took kind of the template of that. All but probably 3 or 4 of the individual statements was put down and handed to me from the highway department employees. I went out, I took this form out there, asked them to take each section, write something down and turn it back into me, and I'd put it into the template. There's some pretty good ideas here from them. I felt that if they gave me the ideas rather than me giving them, that they would buy into this program. You want me to go through them all, or just?
I think let's go through each one, and if any of us have ideas that we'd like to see added to it, we'll add to it. And Eric, you're here as a advisor to us, so chime in every time you want.
Okay. We're going to start off with our safety. One of the ideas was to improve the facility utilization. Obviously, I'm not there every day, so I'm not familiar with what that is, but the guys at the shop must know that there could be better utilization out there. Designate a third-party equipment inspector. By that means that we could have someone come in quarterly, annually, and look over all the equipment to make sure that it all passes, and I'm sure it does. But just if you have another set of eyes looking at the equipment, I think that wouldn't hurt anything. Acquire a scheduled training video and schedule training videos. It didn't sound like there's a lot of that going on, where there's actually a place where the guys could sit down and watch a training video on a certain item if they wanted to. And another safety issue would be utilize of flaggers on specific road jobs. That's 4 of the 5 items that I had anticipated getting. And that's the short-term goal, something that we can take a look at pretty much immediately. I got 3 long-term goals: replace county-owned facility in Irene, install an exhaust system in the blacksmith shop here in Yankton, and purchase a tire machine. They're mounting tires by hand now, and that's kind of time-consuming.
That's a simple fix right there.
Well, it's something. Truck tires are just about as they're a little more dangerous doing them by hand, but. Some guys prefer to do them by hand, but then other guys would rather have a machine to lift them and do that, so.
Truck tires, but also all the trailer tires.
Sure.
And it pays for itself pretty
Oh,
darn
yes.
quick.
Yep, backaches and stuff like that
And,
too, definitely.
And, something with that scheduled training videos, I know a real good asset with that is the South Dakota Public Assurance Alliance has a really good program for that, specifically with highway safety. And I believe the vast majority, is it 60 out of the 66 counties are a part of that? And
Safety benefits out of
Yeah.
Mitchell has a lot of those.
that'd be some, I know we're not a part of that, but even if we'd have to pay to do that, I think it would be well worth it, because it is specifically geared toward government safety. And
Sure.
Why reinvent the wheel if they already have a really good
Exactly,
program?
exactly.
So,
Then moving on, our next category was the workforce. Short-term goals was increase employee awareness of the department's goals and priorities, develop a cross-training program, increase accessibility of county leaders to all employees. Sometimes some of the guys out there, they made mention to me that they don't know or see a lot of the other department heads. You know, Mike gets to see them all the time, but the employees out there don't. So I think it'd just be a good idea to maybe get out and about and say hi to them or whatever. Long-term goals, increase employee training and development opportunities. Hire a human relations person. And design an app to maintain an inventory of daily work. And I think by what he meant by that was either come up with some kind of an app or some way that they can just touch in when they finish a daily job or something like that, just to track and kind of, not necessarily for pay, but just kind of keep track of what all's going on out there, so.
John, for the HR person, what specifically do you envision that you'd
I would say it'd
need
be-
HR for?
The HR person would be for all departments, over all departments. Just someone that the employee could go to if they have a complaint about something. The department heads generally can handle a lot of that kind of stuff, but
Sure.
just, you know, that the HR person would be kind of in charge of doing the cross-training process, make sure that they're getting cross-trained. And again, that's a long-term goal,
Sure.
so.
No, I appreciate that.
Moving along to service category. Short-term goal, increase transparency and collaboration in our business and operation and decision-making. I think a lot of times the guys are just handed a job to do and not explained why they're doing it or something like that, so. And then better notification of jobs that are completed, and I think that was the same gentleman that requested to develop an app or some electronic way of making sure that they're being tracked. Long-term service goals, increase collaboration with contractors on better ways to accomplish our work that meets the needs of the county and contractors. I guess that's kind of self-explanatory. Some of the guys that are out there actually physically doing the work maybe don't get an opportunity to talk to the actual contractor or the engineer or the designer or whatever, whoever decides that job's gotta be done, so. That was the only comment I had for long-term goals from the service side. Processes, short-term goal is to increase systematic process improvements on daily work and key work processes. Provide updates on changes in job-related functions. One guy doing something today maybe didn't get trained on a project that he's expected to do tomorrow, so. Long-term goals there, increase employee-initiated and implemented innovations with Yankton County Highway guidelines. I guess I'm not even familiar that if we have county highway guidelines, but we probably should if we don't.
Not that I know of.
Do you, when like guidelines, do you mean like roads built to this standard, or are you talking about work guidelines?
I think he's talking about more work guidelines
Okay.
on more significant job descriptions, some of those kind of things.
Okay, like for, like.
You know, you got a truck driver and
yeah.
a road grader,
Yeah.
what are their guidelines and what they,
Yeah.
you know,
And that almost leads to a bigger description in general of county jobs, and something that I've seen and Don probably seen, and you guys have all seen, is years ago, a lot of these jobs, and maybe they still are, were deemed a secretary job, but that's really not what we expect them anymore. They've morphed into something, into a deputy, and what we expect of them and what they're doing is a lot more
Exactly.
than their job description. So that's an excellent point you
What-
bring up. So,
What I hear when I read this, and I could be wrong, but I hear an employee saying, look, I see better ways to do it. I brought it up, and it never gets done.
And there's some of that also, you know, included in that.
And, you know, and to your point is that we call them a truck driver, but are they an equipment operator? Because, yeah, they drive a truck, but they're also trained on 10 other pieces of
Payloaders
equipment.
and-
Yeah,
yes.
so are we cutting them short by calling them a truck driver
Right.
when they're more than that?
Yep.
You know, and they're doing maintenance and they're doing other work and so.
And a lot of the guys out there are, you know, they drive a truck today and they might have to hop into a payloader or an
Sure,
excavator tomorrow.
Yeah,
So,
no, that's a excellent point you make.
well, then I came up with a few challenges, or they mentioned few challenges also. Challenges are the deteriorating roads and bridges. That was one that I threw in there. And then Mike said something about budgeting. Some of the guys mentioned aging equipment,
Did-
which I
did-
think we're
Did you
improving.
Did you skip over assets?
Oh, I might have. Yes, I did. I'm sorry. Assets. Short-term goals, prioritize assets to track and develop condition targets. By that, I think he means that we prioritize the newer trucks or the older trucks to get a better handle on a maintenance schedule and things like that to track when we're putting tires on them, or are we getting the best tire wear on our trucks and equipment that we can. Develop a reasonable equipment rotation schedule. That's moving old equipment, replacing old equipment with newer equipment or new stuff to get it on a rotation. That's not necessarily saying that we need to start replacing equipment, just get some sort of a rotation in place to where once a payloader's 8.5 years old, we start looking for a newer one or something like that, so.
That's a good point.
Upgrade the condition of pipe and box culverts per inventory requirements. Evidently, I think we're in pretty good shape on that one, actually. And complete an analysis study of our current assets. I don't know if we probably have a list of the assets, but do we actually know a current pricing schedule or amortization schedule on that, so. Those are the short-term things that we can look at fairly soon. Long-term goals for our assets that we have, increase the condition targets on prioritized equipment. That's kind of goes hand in hand with one of the short terms, but looking out further down the road. Upgrade the facility in Irene. Acquire a storage facility for county equipment and county impound vehicles, and modernize the shop in Lesterville. The building in Irene is actually in really rough shape, and the new road grader doesn't actually fit in it unless they detach the side wings, so. So that's the kind of some of the goals, short-term and long-term goals that I've come up with and the guys shared with me. Now getting back to the challenges, the deteriorating roads and bridges, budget, aging equipment, and additional indoor storage space for seasonal equipment. Getting a facility to where we can store some of the stuff, the paver, so it's under a roof instead of sitting outside all winter long when it's not being used, some of those kind of things. And then, pretty much they come up with one opportunity. I'm sure there's more opportunities in the county, but to efficiently provide a safe and effective transportation system in Yankton County. And as far as the opportunities goes, that is a broad statement to come up with, actually, to provide a safe and effective transportation system in Yankton County. So that's what I come up with so far, and it's gonna be an ever-changing item, so.
So, Eric, on the strategic plan, good job, John.
Thank you.
Very good job. Do you think we need to put timeframe objectives and people accountable for doing the things?
That was something we talked about, back when we were working
Yeah.
on the county share objectives. And that is certainly possible to add that in.
Sure.
And, probably would be maybe part of the format, like Don and I came up with for his part, that we could probably, do we have a section called plan implementation, and that could definitely be, include timeframe and, party responsible or responsible person or something like that.
Sure.
So yeah, and my comments on this would be, so I'm glad you consulted with the department staff for the input on this, cause yeah, we could dream up all the stuff we want all day, but it wouldn't be anything if, you take this to the highway department, and they go, what's this all about? So,
Yep.
at least they're already engaged, so, and I could easily take what you have here and get it in this format so that it all is, it's
Sure.
consistent.
My ongoing intention, I guess I was working under this objective, is that every quarter, we'd have a session that we'd come back and go to the strategic plans and discuss what's been done on each step to see that they've been accomplished or not.
Sure.
And if not, the reason why. So I think that what we're talking about there would facilitate that.
Yeah, absolutely. The only suggestions I would have as far as the layout or the flow of this is, I think, and I don't necessarily think you need to add anything to the goals here, but what I do see is like with the service part and the processes part, I think we can, keep all of the goals, both short and long term, but I wonder if we just maybe streamline a little bit and we combine those two pages and maybe call that like a department operations
Okay.
strategy. It seems like that's what we're both of those are relating to.
Sure.
is
Sure.
The operations of the department. And I like the assets page, and that, the only suggestion there might be, we call that like capital investments, because, I was looking back here under the safety page, and they mentioned, under long-term goals of, replacing county-owned facility in Irene. So unless they have a really, really good idea of how that relates to safety, to me, that fits, that would
Sure.
fit better under the assets page or the capital investments page.
Sure.
Other than that, no, this would be simple to translate into a
Sure.
format we all can use.
And that was kind of my intention. I wanted to get over there sometime this week, but time got away from me, and just to do that. So,
That's good.
Do we want any place in this, strategic plan to talk about road priorities, those kind of things?
I could actually put the map of the 5-year plan along in with this. I've got copies of that.
I'm just gonna say that, I think that's covered in your 5-year highway bridge plan.
Yeah.
When is that coming up anyway? Don't we review that and approve that?
I believe Mike has talked about that, yes, in about a month or so. He wants to get together to have a meeting. I think it's in September.
Seems like it's prior to budgeting finalization, yeah, September.
And then the updates are always due like the middle of October.
Yeah. Yep. See, I can print that off. I have a copy of that on my electronic copy of it on my computer, so.
I guess I'd like to see, something tied into our long-term goals on, the road system,
Okay,
if we can do that.
that was one of the purposes of the state coming out with those highway bridge plans. Not only just for, to be eligible for the bridge funding, but, I think we've got a lot of counties and other highway departments in the mindset of, capital improvements planning. Because a lot of times, well, it doesn't necessarily be just highway departments, but a lot of people, don't do that, so it definitely got them thinking about the future and what are the priorities.
If we're just, brainstorming about this, I know other counties, have an annual meeting with townships too, and we've talked about it, and we've kinda done it before, but we've never officially done it. Maybe that's something that we could do, just have an annual town. We've had good attendance and we've had bad attendance on it, but
Or
perhaps that's something we could try.
is there a, the townships, do they have their regular meetings? Is there maybe a time that we go to them on one of their regular
They
meetings
are
or something?
all over the place.
Yeah, that's what I was
and
gonna say.
it's usually,
There's
hey,
16 of
we're
them.
gonna go eat at George's house tomorrow night.
Yeah,
That's
but-
usually how they do it, and it works for them. They do have an official meeting once or twice a year, that's advertised, but usually it's on a Tuesday night when we have meetings, so that doesn't work out.
Yeah,
So one of the requirements of the 5-year plan is Mike has to notify all the township board,
Yeah.
presidents or township boards of the public meeting that usually happens, right around the time that you're adopting the plan. I wonder if that could be, just be part of that. I know, and I guess I haven't been to a Yankton County one, but I know like, out Douglas County, the township board members, not saying like it's filled, they're not filling the room, but
Yeah.
they are regular attendees for
Yeah,
that meeting.
we have, certain townships, there's always representation, and there's other ones that, don't make it as often. But I know I think this is what we have this year, and then maybe one other year, the rural access infrastructure funding too. And then after that, I presume that's gonna be gone.
A good example, I guess, was
Exactly.
where we had 2 townships show up
Well,
when we're giving them free grant money. Or not we, the state.
well, it was distributed by us. A couple of the townships didn't qualify. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
And once the initial shine on that 5-year plan deal, wore off, definitely attendance at those meetings have just, dropped off dramatically. So I think, to kind of follow your point is, how could we get more participation in those required meetings?
So that might be a short-term goal
Yeah.
that we'd want to add someplace in this one where to improve representation and communications with township boards.
As long as we're making the effort, they gotta meet us halfway. If we make the effort,
Sure.
then they don't show up, well, then that's not on us.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess that's,
Yeah, I think that fits, so I'm scratching it in under the processes.
That's where I was just writing it down too.
There you go.
I'd like to see a tie between our strategic plans and our long-term vision of making the county better. And this is all, this all meets that, with the possible exception of visualizing what roads might look like. We had the, what was it, the red, yellow, and blue roads a while ago, or whatever the process was. That maybe we just review that and see if those are still the primary roads that need to be maintained, and
and, a decision that a conversation that nobody wants to have is, you guys have all seen it in Pierre, bill after bill after bill by the county goes down in flames, and the state has been very clear, the counties are not getting any more money. So what does that mean? Is that these roads and bridges, in all likelihood, are not gonna get fixed. And so we're gonna have to make some very tough decisions over the next 4 years. It's a topic that nobody wants to discuss, but if we're doing our due diligence, we're gonna have to address them at some point.
Well, and I'm just throwing
Yeah,
things out
yeah,
on the floor.
yeah.
Do we want an emphasis on our highway team to be coordinating, cooperating, and in collaboration with cities and other counties on going to Pier and doing road issues, and
I think
would that be
that's
something that we'd want to put in there
I think that's important.
as a step?
I do think that's key to do that. But also just maybe awareness that the reality is not every road is probably gonna be able to be fixed in the future, and that's not on us as, you know, the county. That's a directive, you know, from the state. When I go to Pier, and I'm sure you guys do, and you talk about these, is the response from the state is figure it out, and if you can't figure it out, cut it. And that's our guidance, and that's what's being pushed down to us, and that's what we have to deal with, and, you know, it's.
I think in
not-
all
it's
our
not great.
programs, that's a basic line. We
Yeah.
gotta plan on,
Yeah.
if we want it done, we gotta figure out how we can do
Yeah.
it. If the state or national will help,
Yeah,
great, then we move on to the next thing, but,
exactly.
we've gotta figure out how to resolve the issues.
Yep,
And if we can't resolve them, we tell
yep.
the public.
Yeah, well, I think we are gonna be facing where we have to prioritize, we have to make a prioritization on roads, of certain roads. We have to
Sure.
look at, you know, yeah, we have maps of where the worst roads are and the best roads are, but we also have to think about, as a county overall, where is our best roads
Exactly.
to maintain the
Yeah.
best travel system throughout our county.
Exactly.
And
Yep.
so I think that's something that we should look
Sure,
at long-term.
Sure. Yeah, I'm not
Because we're gonna
talking
have
doom
these
and gloom, but
challenges, yes, but-
exactly what you're saying.
That's
is
gonna
we
help us
can't-
guide and make these really tough decisions
Right.
in the future.
Exactly. In it, and Don said it a few years ago, is, you know, everything we have now, we probably can't maintain. He said something like this, I'm probably not saying it as good as he did. We can't maintain everything that we have now, and we're gonna have to prioritize, you know, certain roads, and that's just a reality. I mean, there's no choice, so.
And Mike's got kind of a list of what he's looking at and talking about too, and that's part of the revising the 5-year plan that's gonna be coming up too,
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
We gotta keep in mind, we're not talking we're talking about strategic planning, not necessarily operational planning.
Yep, yep,
Yep.
yep.
Gary, do you have any comments on this one?
No, not on this one.
A lot of good work.
Yeah.
I'm proud of our highway department
Good.
and you for going out and getting the information from them. I think we leave it that Eric and John will work on another draft put together. And if any of us have any afterthoughts, we should get a hold of John and discuss them with him.
Sounds good to me.
Thank you, great job.
Thank you.
Dan, you wanna do yours?
I gotta follow John, that's not fair. Well, I had a different format, I guess I had I kinda thought this was the format that you handed out, Don, so I
Yeah.
followed that one. And I guess I got the short straw and drew the ambulance. I still don't know how that happened, but,
It's already done. You hired a new man.
Now, well, and just a little bit of history. I think we all understand that the ambulance has been facing some pretty significant cost restraints for a long time. It's an important service to Yankton County and our citizens and the area, and it's something that we need to have, but how do we continue to afford it? Some of the challenges that, what we want to do is we want to provide exceptional medical service that are delivered by highly skilled, educated professional staff, but we got to be fiscally responsible. When I talk to people about this, is they are just amazed that Yankton County foots the bill for the ambulance out of the general fund, and that we are the sole providers of the cost. We don't get any help from any other entity, not from the city, not from any of the small towns, not from the state. It solely comes from us, even though I believe it's up to 95% of the calls are in the city. Yankton County pays the entire cost of that. And our research, and Gary's helped me out on this quite a bit, I believe there are 3 county ambulances in the state, and maybe 4 now. I believe Day County took over an ambulance, and we're by far the largest one. We do more calls in a week than pretty much all the ambulances do in a year. And so we're the only county ambulance that operates like this. Most of the other ones are ambulance districts, or they're city run, or some of them are hospital ran, or they're privately funded. They're all facing challenges, lack of funding, widespread workforce shortage. They said, from what I've heard, is that 1 out of every 3 EMTs will quit within, I think, 2 years. So it's a very, very high turnover rate. If you can get people to go through the course, they're probably not going to stick around. And that's for a variety of reasons. It's a thankless job with what they have to do. And car wrecks, picking up bodies, the list goes on and on. It's a burnout job. People don't want to volunteer anymore. We see that everywhere. Their hard hours, you got to be in the ambulance transporting people all over the place. It's tough. So there's a lot of challenges with our ambulance. There's some opportunities. I think we have a lot of support if we want to make some changes. I guess through what Gary and I have seen in our research, I feel that the best course of action is to look at forming an ambulance district. And does everybody know what that is? Or so our fire departments basically are districts. They are ran by a small board. It would be separate from the county, and they have a small taxing authority. So it has to go to a public vote, and the voters would have to vote to approve it, and then they would have their own taxing levy, and they would become separate from the county. But I think that is the best course of action. I've talked to multiple individuals, and it seems like that the ambulance districts in the state and around the nation seem like they have the best outcomes and the best ran ambulances. Talking to our fire chief, there's some ambulance districts in Nebraska. I'm not saying that we would be like this necessarily, but there are some ambulance districts that are so successful that they don't even bill for ambulance service. I'm not saying we'll end up there, but there are some that are that sufficient that they don't even need to do that. So I think that's the option that we need to head to.
Insurance, federal, and covers their expenses.
The tax levy that they have
Okay.
is sufficient enough. Well, it's kind of like our rural fire departments, how I understand. If somebody has a fire out in the rural area, years ago, you were a member of the rural fire district and you paid in, but if you weren't and you had a fire, you got a bill. But nowadays, how I understand it, if everybody's a member and if you have a fire, they take care of it and you're covered. I believe that's how that works, and that's what I was led to believe. So, the districts that we talk to, in Nebraska at least, are financially sound enough that they don't even need to bill. Now, that's not all of them certainly, but there are some examples where that's the case. Are we gonna be that way? I doubt initially, but it's nice to hear that some ambulance districts are at least successful like that. So I think that's the best option, and particularly in South Dakota, we've seen some of the best run ones are ambulance districts. I think this is an opportunity for us to engage the public on the importance of the ambulance and gain public support for it, and provide education to our citizens on how important this is, and it can help us improve customer satisfaction with that. So, are there any questions so far on that? Like I said, it's going to require a public vote. I hope to have an estimate from a consultant agency here today. They didn't get back to us yet, have they? There's a consultant, it's Aegis, is it? Do you want to speak about that for a second, Gary?
So we got a reference from the fire chief about, it's called AP Trintron. And so they're in the process of just sending us a quote. Once we get a quote, we'll get some idea if we have to bid it or what's going to have to happen from there. But basically, they're giving us a quote on possibly changing fee structure, how they would do that, maybe bringing some new legislation into South Dakota that isn't currently allowed, and so basically, once that happens, and then I've contacted the state's attorney's office, and they're going to kind of outline the path to possibly go towards a district, and whether or not and tell us whether or not we're going to have to bid it or not. So we thought we'd have it by today. We hoped, but they still haven't sent it. But it should be here any day, and then we'll get it out to everybody and discuss it.
We'll propose it. It's going to be a commission decision on how much we're going to have to spend. It's not small potatoes, but I think it's will be important to go through a consultant for the sheer point of doing a public education program on why it's important to have this, what the ambulance does, and really, yeah, it'll be it's an extra tax. But if you want the ambulance to come when you're having a heart attack or stroke, somebody's gonna have to pay for it. And the way I look at the budget for the ambulance, when we're gonna be budgeting probably, next month? Last year we budgeted, I believe it was $1.4 million with the cost increase. We're probably gonna be budgeting 1.5, 1.6 million for the ambulance. How long are we gonna be able to sustain that as Yankton County with the high turnover rates that we've had? I don't know. So it's gonna be tough.
Dan,
Yep.
have you researched anything yet on what counties, or what ambulance districts in other counties, what that mill levy looks like, or what that is?
Now, that is set by that board once it's passed. So, this is how I understand, and, Hughes County just went through this, and, what happens is Yankton County, we would have to pass a resolution, and the city of Yankton would have to pass a resolution, as well as all the small municipalities. It would go to a public vote, the voters would have to approve it, and then that board would be formed, and I believe they have a certain time period to appoint their board members, and then they would set their mill levy. And then I believe they have 2 years to adjust that mill levy to what they need it to be. So if they have it too low, they have 2 years time frame to adjust that.
And I think,
So-
when you look at, when you look at the profiles of all the counties, it seems like, special districts like that, whether it's
Yeah.
fire district or ambulance
Yeah.
district, or even like the water improvement district,
Yeah.
the mill levy is,
Stuck out.
You're lucky Wanda's not here.
Yeah.
Yeah, if Wanda is here, you'd be in trouble.
So that our citizens can hear.
oh, that one. Okay, there we go. How's that?
Yeah.
They don't tell any difference.
See, my voice carries pretty
You
good.
got a good voice.
I think a lot of times those, the mill levies are practically unnoticeable. So I think, the whole political, challenge would be easily accomplished, with, when you show them, what minor impact it's gonna have on their taxes.
Yeah, and Hughes County, when we were up in Pierre and we spoke to some of their commissioners and their commission manager up there, I believe their ambulance district passed, what was that, 70-some%? And the citizens realize, I mean, this is a service, I mean, everybody needs to, like I said, if you need the ambulance, you want it to show up, because there are too many rural areas that there's no ambulance that shows up when you need it. So I think through a public education campaign and a consultant, we can educate why this is important, and the way I see costs increasing with our ambulance, and we have a growing population that doesn't have the ability to maybe pay their bills and are a high use of our ambulance. That's gonna continue. I believe the last time Troy gave his report, it was, we had 49% of our calls are, was it Medicaid or Medicare? That number is gonna keep,
Say almost half.
yeah, and then once you add Medicaid in there, it was over 60. What is that gonna be like in 20 years? And they pay a small fraction of our actual costs. And so, to me, we gotta do something, otherwise it's just gonna be an unsustainable system. So, that would be my recommendation, is that's where we're gonna need to move to, and would be, to get some sort of consulting company to help, us move in that direction.
I'm assuming most of you or all of you were around when the county was gonna finance the safety center. That required a vote. And
I wasn't around then.
you weren't there, okay. All I remember is, Steve Larson was kinda running the campaign there, but, that might be something that, if you are looking to, at how to educate the public. I mean, that was they did a great job,
Yeah.
educating the public and convincing them, the need for the facility, and, and it
Yeah.
turned out to be, quite successful. And again, the tax, and this is more of a capital project, but the tax levy, it still turned out to be almost minuscule.
Yeah. Thank goodness we have the jail and everything now, and it's gonna be paid for next year. I couldn't imagine having to build one nowadays. So, I guess I can do my best to answer any other questions if you guys have them. Wish I had the costs.
I'm
in
gonna
front of
ask,
me. Sure.
Eric, on this one. We're addressing, an immediate problem. There's no doubt about it, but and it's strategic because it's long-term where it's headed for disaster. But would it be appropriate to have more steps involved? Contact your consultant, next step is blank, next step is blank.
Yeah.
Yeah, that,
Yeah, I guess, I
that
wish.
could be a strategy in
Yeah.
and of itself, so I think we could say, forming an ambulance district should be a short-term strategy or goal, and then, then action items under that would be, hire the consultant, perform the study, and then, cause it could take maybe 3 years to finally
Yeah.
get that all organized.
And I think something under that would be like developing that timeline of how we transition from having a county-supported ambulance to.
Yeah,
And you have that
Ambulance
under
district.
the,
yeah.
strategies and control and evaluate. It's all,
Yep.
it's all in how we, but I'd like to see a standardized thing
Yeah.
for each area if we can.
Okay.
Kinda,
Yeah, I mean, in general, is everybody more or less, okay with that idea? I mean, I know in the past, several years ago, it was brought up, and there were people who absolutely wanted to keep the ambulance no matter what. I've talked to multiple people with the ambulance, and once we explain an ambulance district, everybody thinks it's a great idea, especially the employees. And reason being is, you have an ambulance board, which is generally people who are, somehow have knowledge of the ambulance, in charge of the ambulance, whereas, county commissioners, we generally don't know a lot about. I didn't know anything about an ambulance. I don't know if you guys did when you joined, and yet, now we're in charge of it, and we don't really know. And having them separate with their own tax levy, where they have their financial management, where, they have to make their own decisions and manage an ambulance and be frugal with their dollar. They have to be a lot tighter with their budget. Maybe they don't need that brand new pickup truck this year. Maybe they could put it off next year. And when you explain it to them, they've all agreed that would be a better situation for them. And not only that, they know what their budget's gonna be next year because they already have that levy. I mean, we don't know what's gonna come crashing down on us. We might have to do budget cuts 2 years from now, and we have to fund our sheriff's office and auditor. And unfortunately, as important as the ambulance is, it's not a function that the county has to fund. Should it be? Yes, but it isn't. So.
I'll be honest with you, it's hazy whether it's the right idea or not.
Yeah.
But until you go out and you
Yeah.
develop the plan and you
Sure.
actually see how it's going to put together, it's not saying that we're going to do it, but if we have the
Yep.
plan and we have that information in front of us, it's a
Yep.
lot easier then to make these
Yeah.
decisions.
Yeah.
And that's the idea of this strategic
Yeah.
planning, we're coming up with a strategy to deal with the situation that we know is coming up, so.
The consultant that we talk to, they do this all across the nation, and so I think, I kind of wish they would have had this here, and if we can get their bid and agree with them, we can have them come in and pitch their plan. They do this all the time, and they have plans in place where they do this all over the nation, and we can build those plans and do something that will work for us and the citizens. So, yep, be willing to do that. So I guess I didn't want to do a complete plan if the commission, was going to say, nope, we want to keep the ambulance. Well, then
and we may still want to do that.
yeah, well, that's
We
the
still may
case.
end up doing that.
That's
It's
the case.
you know,
Yeah.
we'll feel more confident in that decision
Sure.
if we've already looked at this
Sure.
with a,
Well, yeah,
with a
that, I
good
think
eye.
that'll be the case if we're gonna hire the first step, I think, is we're gonna get the bid for the consultant, and if we're gonna go that route, if we're gonna hire the consultant to look at this and go to the public, I guess it'll come down to when we sign the resolution, if we're gonna go to the ambulance, we're gonna vote yes or no. And if we vote yes, we're headed down that path. If we vote no, then we're not.
I think you,
yeah.
So,
since the county still kind of governs
Yeah.
the EMS,
Yeah.
the ambulance, so it almost is, right now, it's kind of within your responsibility to
Yeah.
plan. And maybe, in 3 years, maybe if an ambulance district is formed,
Yeah.
that'll be a self-governing body, and you will have to focus way less on, the facilities, the equipment, and the
Yeah.
operations of that,
Yeah.
as a commission.
yeah. Yep,
And somehow the public's got to know and understand the costs of the ambulance service and the reasons that it's being done, and this will help clarify it.
and the people we talk to, I mean, they have that all down. I mean, yeah, they, very, very professional individuals, and they understand the costs, the Medicaid and Medicare reimbursement rates of just how tough it is for anybody to make it, and so, well, I will, as soon as we get that information, which hopefully we will be by next meeting, we'll try to get it on the agenda, and we'll just go from there, so I'll keep you guys posted. and
Yeah, I
informed.
think we need to, when we go through our discussions here, we need to kind of talk about plan going forward, how we're gonna present different things to the public. And get it kicked off, yeah.
Yeah, yep.
Mr. Heine?
Mine? I have mine all in electronic format yet.
Can you put it up there?
You want, we can have Karen print off some stuff if you want.
Oh, it's only a one pager.
Middle one.
Middle one, yes.
Do you want
There we
these,
go.
do you want these lights?
Turn them, yeah, you can turn them down, it's not like a super graphics. Oh, that's, there we go.
And this will be something you can email me,
Oh, yeah, this is preliminary, very preliminary yet, so, like I said, it's like, I haven't put the polish on it. It starts off with a big smattering of ideas, and you try to distill it down. Where's the on button on that?
So is this like school where the homework was due today, and so Wanda coming up with an excuse?
Yeah.
She's in
That's
court.
Instead of turning her own-
Dog ate her homework, she said.
Yeah.
There.
Sure, a nice rain we got though. Yeah. Needed it.
All right. All right, so IT goals. Really, this is IT is kind of broad and big already. What we really want to look at is evaluate and improve technology in general throughout the county, but I think we really kind of focus on communication, efficiency, and security. So the challenge is, really this is kind of going through a lot of different places throughout the county. We want to maximize the returns on IT investment. We have some old equipment out there, stuff that needs to get replaced. We want to make sure that we're putting in the right stuff. We want to make sure that we make these decisions to be highly maintainable. We want to make sure that we're making the right decisions to make our county work easier. Like John was already in his plan. The weird thing about my plan, it has to touch on just about everyone else's plans. As John was just talking about, equipment tracking, job tracking, things like that. We want those part of our IT. That's part of our IT plan. That's also going to then fall into doing some tech training, because we bring in this new software, we're going to have to train all of our people for it. One of the things, like one of the things that I've already investigated or we're investigating into is we have lots of individual licenses for Microsoft products. Going to an enterprise solution, this would bring in possibly allowing us to have teams. A lot of really neat features on Teams that allow collaboration, job tracking. There's all sorts of different features that we can bundle onto this enterprise that can make workflow and communication very transparent. And there's also a little bit of challenges there too. We have this rule about forums, and we have to make sure that if we follow certain rules on there, then we don't have to run afoul of those elected office rules too. So the other thing is communication, and that's again, like we've talked about over and over again, making sure people know that what we're doing, how we're trying to accomplish things, but also getting feedback from them. So that's the challenge, is the communication, but there's opportunities to build more engagement in county matters from the people, build greater trust in the county operations and what we're doing, our strategic plans, and tailor more of our work, tailor more of our focus to what really matters to our citizens and our employees. So objectives so far, really, the first one's already in play. We are heavily into the review of all software and hardware assets of the county. We want to look at enterprise solutions, maybe see where we can bundle things together to make better efficiencies, maybe save some money. We also want to identify failure points, prevent work stoppages. We already have one identified in here. We have some routers that we probably have to replace, some Wi-Fi routers, things that are causing disruptions for the employees during the day. But we also, like, road department has that cabinet out there. That is a small disaster. So I think that's, when we talk about modernizing the road department a little bit, I think we go hand in hand, because there's some technologies in there, asset tracking, that can help aid in the tracking of, how much use is this equipment getting, and should we be upping its service interval and stuff like that. So, and then also identifying trust and security. Don's already had the phishing email going out in his name the one day not long ago. There's things on our website. Our website is lacking a few security features. We should probably get those done. We want to make sure that we have especially if we're investing more into having some of these tools, we also make sure that they're secure, and trust as well, because we also want to make sure that we're transparent all the time too. So you have to build walls, but then they have to be opened at the right times. And so one of the earliest ones is I think I'm generally against like doing big software buys or anything like that, but the MS Suite integration is starting to look a lot more feasible and realistic, especially as we're going through this evaluation. So the other objective I right away put down too was we want to bring back that online presence. So not just the website being updated, let's get back onto social media, but we're going to do it right this time with the keys being held by, at this time it'll be our IT folks will have the keys, and we'll have someone, a separate profile dedicated to making all updates, and it's going to help us make these engagements. I also wanted to get to use some of those channels. You can use Facebook, we can use the website possibly, we can in different channels to get feedback from the community about things, about ideas. This could play into later down the road in strategic planning, like, okay, we're looking into this ambulance district. This is a time to really use our online tools to start engaging people, getting their feedback on things early on, and developing that trust rather than just laying it out all two of them in one big blow. You know, we build it up incrementally every day. So, and it almost comes into, you know, there's a possibility, and this is one that's kind of out there, is possibly having, we've talked about a little bit of having an IT person, but maybe just an IT media person that's hired by the county that's really more dedicated towards helping us build good media, good communication, but also handling a lot of our IT stuff too. So, let's see, I think I had one down here. Oh, no, that was the last part, was the, yes, improve our online meeting experience. So we have figured out a few things that we can do to our meeting room to really try to make our meetings a lot better, a lot more informative. Things like this that are showing on the screen that are hard to see at home can really be shared side by side and more directly. We do a lot of handouts, try to get those things so that they're all part of that meeting experience, part of that meeting video. So we can go back on our meetings and we can really see the detail of everything. And it's all there captured. And I think that's really good because, well, that's what I do all the time. I'm always going back, even the meetings I'm here at, I'm always going back and double checking things and looking back at things. So, but that's where I'm at. So where this is still needing to go to is making some performance measures, metrics, saying, you know, these are the milestones that we're going to meet, and putting in some timeline dates here. So already next Friday, I got a meeting with another security solution that they've reached out to. They've been already talking to our county sheriff department too. So, but yeah, that's where I'm at. It's not the finished product yet, but this is getting pretty close now.
Any questions?
Yeah.
Getting technology,
I
I'll
hate to say it,
I'll
but you
listen.
might have to have some training too.
I'm not well versed in all the terminology with IT, but, so when you say enterprise solutions, is that a phrase or is that a specific
So
business or
enterprise,
company or product?
enterprise solution is a different way of dealing with software rather than buying each individual piece of software or individual copy of software. You're buying a single copy for the whole organization.
Got it.
And so and that's where you can kind of get into a nicer situation too, where everyone's running the exact same version throughout the whole county. Things are easier to share and work better as a whole, so.
Can like the sheriff's department then, I've always heard that haven't we been told that they're kind of, their separate program is running perfect and, you know.
They do. They have a lot of separate things, but some of the MS, like an MS Suite, they use that as well. So we could wrap all that together, and they still would have they'd still have some of their stuff that's specialized to them at it as well. So it doesn't mean that it's like one shoe fits all. It's just
Yeah.
this is the one base. This is a one base for all. So
Yeah, and Ryan brings up a great point to share some of that stuff, because I know at one point we had, like, I don't know, like 8 different, licenses for certain things.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
it's just like,
Yeah.
why are we paying 8 different ones? I mean,
and
you bring
it's
up a
gonna
great point.
it's gonna help out with the maintenance too. Again, everyone has the same version. If we also have, you know, if we're making equipment selections right, we also can create a lot of situations where it's quick to replace a downed computer, because we have duplicates all throughout the county or something like that. One machine can easily be moved to another department in a pinch and stuff like that. So,
Is there anything that can be done to increase the ability of the customer to access the information, make it easier?
for our citizens,
Yes.
yes, and that's where I was talking about improving that website.
Okay.
I think it's overdue for a redesign, to be a little bit more easier for people to get to the information that they need. Part of that is it's a double-edged thing too. Is like we also want to make sure that it's easy to get the information up to the site, and so it's two ends of the spectrum, because if it's hard to get current information to the site, it's never going to be updated, it's going to be useless. And so vice versa, you also want to make sure it's easy to come down. And it's usually easier to find ways of getting information out of a website than it is to make sure that it's easily updatable and current, especially across multiple organizations. So,
'Cause that, to me, is one of the easiest ways to get to the masses and tell them what we're really doing, what our intentions are, and why we're doing it.
yeah, yes, and because a website is our own online property, so we can do with it what we want to do. You have social media, which is nice, but you're very limited, and it's, you know, it has its limitations. The nice thing about social media is it really gets out there fast, and it would be great. It's a great tool for sharing things like meetings postponed due to weather and things like that. It's also great ways of sharing news articles that are relevant to the county that are external to us, and things going on, and redirecting people back to the website for the key information possibly that they should be looking at.
With the MS Suite, the Microsoft Suite, we found in our work that the young people growing up now are used to Microsoft
Oh yeah,
products. So it's easy to train them on it when they come in, new hires or whatever. Everybody
almost
picks up.
everyone's familiar with it now.
Yes.
The sweet part is, you know, there's extra tools that we can add on,
Yeah.
more than just your Excel and Word.
Yeah.
And I think they could possibly start being utilized in the county that's in a way that can improve our communication among employees, tracking of jobs, tracking of things going on. You know, like as an engineer, where I work, you know, doing these strategic plans as a single sheet of paper or a little document is nice, but we hardly use documents like that anymore. It's all handled in this database type structure that you quickly link through all the different details, from big stories down to little tasks, and everything's tracked and assigned to people, and things move along. You can pull out lots of information about things because it's well indexed.
Yep.
What platform are you talking about, like with some kind of digital plan with action?
So like Teams has a lot of things in there. So that'd be part of this suite, is looking at having Teams for everyone, which gives you a lot of things for meetings, chat, phone operations just out in the field, and sharing documents back and forth. And it's heavily used at my work, and I think it's a pretty good product. So
Yep.
it's one of those things where it's like you can have your individual things, and you can get them cheaper, but then it's like when you get to this enterprise level, it's like, oh, well, then you get this very nice stuff
Yeah.
along with it. And I think we might be at that stage because, you know, we are on the older side of people working.
Can we get to the point where the citizen would never really have a reason to come in and see the treasurer, the register of deeds? All those activities could be handled through technology.
We're getting there. There's a lot of things already that can be done. We could probably get there at some day. Yeah. Some cases that it's a little harder because we do have to have you do have to get documents notarized or something. Bring in a notarized document, and there are some legal things that you just have to do by hand yet. But there's a lot of the daily things that, yeah.
Buying your license plates, your new license plates,
Oh,
tags,
that's-
you
yeah.
can do that all online.
You do
right
all
now.
that online. Get your license renewed online. So
Do a building permit, you can work,
we already have the ability to do
are we
the
still
building
only
permits pretty much.
county that does that, or what?
Well, we're not the only one.
Well, we were the first one that did it, though.
In
We
South
were the first
Dakota,
one in
yeah,
South
it was
Dakota.
new.
Mhm.
But I mean, you have to, both of your guys, well, yeah, you can do a building permit on it, you can
Mhm.
do a lot of cool stuff that not a lot of other counties can, I mean, it's.
Yeah, all those tools those are great tools,
They are.
And it really just cuts down on so much of running around and like,
I mean, you can go to, Beacon and check on stuff,
Mhm.
so you don't have to go to the equalization, and you can pay your stuff with the treasurer, I mean, the auditor, I mean, we'll probably never be able to do voter registration, I mean, that'll always be in person, and like you're saying,
Yeah.
notarized, like legal documents,
yeah,
registered,
those,
that'll probably
there's
always
just
be
certain
like
things that will always have to be
Yeah,
done in
and
person.
Yeah.
And for good reason, but
Yeah.
I don't really know what else within reason we could, what could we easily eliminate at this point? I'm kinda at a loss.
And like Ryan said, the more you get the citizens engaged, even a lot of our out-of-state citizens now that have moved in, they just love the fact that they don't have to come down to the office and fill out a building permit, that they can just do it online, upload their drawings, takes
Yep.
them very little time, and they
It's,
just love it.
yeah, it's a great tool. You can pull up the satellite maps. You can put in your points and everything. It's and that's
You can pay taxes online, I've never done that.
Yes.
Yes,
So
you
I don't
can.
know what else, I don't know what else you could actually do,
I think we have to go to our department heads and find out from them what actually could be done.
and that could be that's actually a good idea. Actually go into each window of
Yeah.
and really looking at okay, what is maybe tasks that we want to have on our website or accessible that are available online that people might not know. So.
We do have to be a little careful with that. I did have a conversation with Patty, the treasurer, and it's not us, it's state law, but I know South Dakota is one of the counties where we mail out license plates, and our mailing fee is, I think, the fee that we can charge is, I think, less than the postage. So every
I
time
think
we
they
do
just
that.
changed that.
Well, but it's not by much though, and the more that they do, it's not a good thing for that office, for the volume. It's not local people, go and you can talk to her about it. There's a YouTube videos on where people from all over the nation are calling into South Dakota and getting plates from Yankton County, cause we're so cheap, cause we don't charge a $25 fee. And so, but it's a lot of extra work for the gals to do it, and most of that money doesn't come here, it goes to the state. So we're doing all the
They
work,
just did a new bill though, starting
Yeah,
July, where
but
the
that
price goes up.
that covers the postage, but the actual cost of the
Oh, I
plates
thought there
goes
was,
to the state.
I thought it was more than that.
Well, it might increase that, but then that money goes to the state, not
No,
us.
no, there's a portion of that stays here.
No. This,
The one bill
Any
that
county
they
just
Yeah.
pushed some legislation
Yeah.
through that helps that situation.
what, that was for the fee for mailing,
That
right?
was-
Yeah.
But yeah, I get, but the cost of the license, it still goes to the state.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah,
The mailing,
yeah.
some of that stays
Sure.
here.
But that won't, was that July that goes into effect, so right now, we're still losing
Yep,
money on it,
yep,
yeah.
And there's just so many good ways to show information
Sure.
now too.
Yeah.
District 3 has developed a number of dashboards that if we chose to move forward on that, once the website gets going a little bit more again, just gives the citizens the ability to see a lot of data in a real easy fashion.
Is that the GIS stuff that they,
Yeah.
that is pretty cool, yeah, I've seen that. Yeah. Awesome, no,
Yeah.
I really like that, you got some good ideas here.
Yep.
So that's the plan is to fill out some metrics and some dates in here. Give some
When
emphasis on it.
once you guys get together and get the format, I'd like to have the format consistent through all of them.
Are we gonna use
This is gonna
so
be
we
a-
gonna use
I like-
this one that you handed out, or are we gonna use another one? Cause I thought,
I was thinking,
Okay.
if you guys like this,
Yep,
let me know.
we
I
can
got
do
one
that.
where we-
Yeah,
Yeah, we'll
that's
do
the
that.
format,
Pictures
and that's
behind there.
that's the one I like too.
That's kind of a box
we can do
format.
that.
I like the single page, really condensed, all the information there. We
Okay.
can have additional pages beyond that to detail things if we need.
Yeah.
But the one pager format, I think, is the way to go with that.
Thanks.
All right.
Unless anybody got anything else.
Other than, you should come over to our office and help us, integrate Microsoft Teams into our workflow, 'cause we got those awesome tools, everybody's got them in our office, but we don't, the only things we touch are like, yeah, Word and Excel and maybe PowerPoint.
Yeah.
But, Teams and Planner and Project, no one, we just don't, we don't use those to our advantage.
Yeah, well, and, yeah, unless you really need to, it's like you don't know if they're there a lot of times too. So, some of it's a lot of forcing it.
That direction,
Mhm.
so yeah, it's an important thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So, what I'm gonna suggest to you is that, instead of me proceeding with the one, involving collaboration with other counties and government organizations, because I don't get the impression that any of them wanna collaborate. And I think it would take, a long time, to get anything that was meaningful, because you gotta decide who's gonna make money and who's gonna break even and how it's all gonna be divided out. I would, if it's all right with you guys, I would like to go and work on the, wind farms and the solar farms as a part of the planning and zoning. And, then when that's done, the next step would be, to work with Gary on other planning and zoning. Does that make sense, or whatever your thoughts are?
It's fine with me.
I would say that's a
Yeah.
good idea.
I think if you wanted to do like some collaboration with the counties, I think, the starting point would probably be, I would almost say the South Dakota, Public Assurance Alliance would probably be a good place to start, because that's the place that has, the health benefits, and they're the ones who do a lot of the training and all that. And I know we're not a member of that, but if you talk to them about doing like some, like mutual training and things like that, that might be a good place to start. Cause who's the new person for that? Is Jeff's gone now, right?
Yeah, I haven't heard who these.
Maybe they haven't
You know,
hired somebody.
That's the thing about so you're talking about wind farms and solar, really as like maybe extend it to like just generally public utilities and planning, because, it's not just wind farms and solar, we also have like the transmission line issue and
Yeah.
things like that, and how we can better deal with those.
Good idea.
Another thing probably coming our way someday is the big fight of the pipelines. Being ready for that would be good, having the things in place
Sure.
today before that fight comes to our door,
Well,
and we don't have to worry about it.
The guy that called me from, Cedar County, he was Cedar County Commissioner, and he said he'd listened to our meeting, and when we discussed, wind and solar, and he said, I'll guarantee you that there's, utility companies, electrical companies driving the roads trying to get easements signed. And,
Well, some of that though, we don't have a whole lot of say in if it's a public utility though. I get what you're saying, and I understand where you're coming from, but there's only so much that we can do. And I know Brown County right now is, because I know those guys are they're in a lawsuit right now with, and I think a good thing to do is maybe let's see where that ends up being. I'd hate to do a ordinance on pipelines, for example, and then whatever we do gets ruled invalid.
Yeah, well, and I
I
think
mean,
it's like,
'cause it
the
will.
hard part is like, yeah, you wanna make sure you have the right restrictions in place.
Yeah.
You're not trying to outlaw things, you're not
Sure,
trying to like
sure.
completely nullify
Yeah.
things, but you want to make sure that you have the right restrictions, again, yeah,
Yeah.
legally following
Yeah.
things,
And
and they're
this is so
backed up
new.
with real things.
It's so
you know.
new that what, you know, cause the court is gonna rule on Brown County.
Mm-hmm.
What is it gonna be? I don't know. Nobody knows.
See,
And
in my
whatever
fear-
we do,
And
it's,
my
Is it-
fear would
is
be,
it in
if we
state?
wait until the fight
Yeah.
comes to the
Is
county.
it in state court or
If we
federal
wait till the
court?
fight
Yeah.
comes to here, then we end up
Yeah.
listening to a lot of hyperbolic fights or reasoning, and it's like we don't. Now the flames have already started, and it's harder to weed through the facts. And
well, Minnehaha, I guess, county passed theirs.
yes,
you know,
they did.
so,
They
I
just
mean,
recently
there's-
did.
So, I don't know. It's not what everybody wanted, but it was something. I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At
And
least
again,
peop-
you're not
both
probably ever
sides
going
know-
to.
know
You're never
where
going
they-
to please everyone.
And in Cedar County, my understanding is that if a farmer wants to put one up on his house or his machine shed, he can still do that.
Yeah.
But they probably aren't gonna have 640 acre solar farms.
It's time for a quick announcement,
Yeah. I guess we have to do one more public comment check too, don't we?
Yeah, this can be part of the public comment. Just wanted to let the citizens know that, remind them or let them know that next Thursday, June 15th, from 5:30 to 7:30, that we're having a FEMA flood risk open house, and that's going to be at Yankton Middle School Theater Lecture Hall, 2000 Mulberry Street. And so basically, we're getting to the next phase of adopting our preliminary flood maps that are going to be released for Yankton County, and this will be the new updated data, and kind of talks about how that was developed, and so it might affect some of the floodplain development requirements and flood insurance rates and stuff. So we want to get people out there as much as we can, and just so they're aware of what's going on with that. So thanks.
Thank you, Gary.
Thanks.
Public comment.
Okay, so when should we move on to the next step of this, getting back together?
Three months.
I'll pull out my calendar. Since I have such a busy work schedule daily. I'd like to have something down on paper that we can go to the public with, for them to at least start considering what we're doing by the 1st of September, if that seems possible to everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah,
works
easily.
for me.
Maybe another meeting in July.
Another meeting in July.
Yeah.
That's pretty close for,
Won't you be doing budget hearings
yeah,
in July?
usually a couple.
See, we'd have a meeting on the 4th and the 18th,
It'll be the 5th.
5th and the 18th. In July and August, it'd be, if we're gonna get it done by the 1st of September, we gotta have some time to put it together and review it, and
I think it'll be relatively simple, you know, because I think we've already got the format started, you know, with that section we did with you, Don. I think, if I remember right, I was veering towards, I don't know if you guys remember this version, I think I all the
Yep.
examples floating around there last time.
Yep.
And other than the text that you can't read on this thing, you know, that was kind of the idea we'd go after. And then, you know, we got a cover sheet, you know, cover page kind of, you know, drafted up, so, with some tweaking, and then, you know, take your formats and put them into the document. Yeah, this thing will be,
How about-
should be just a matter of just tweaking it there, you know.
How about the 15th of August? That's, would be our second meeting in August, and have it like, meet at
I think
4:30
that'll
or
work.
something.
Yeah. I think I should have my information by then,
But
no problem.
you don't have to have that, Dan,
Yeah.
on the strategic plan. You have to have the plan to do that.
Yeah, I guess the way I think mine is if we come in and you guys don't approve the consultant, it's over for me. I mean, that's how mine is gonna work. So if, you know, if here's my consultant, okay, and we vote against the fee, I'm done. Or if you guys don't approve the resolution, it's over. There's nothing to do for me.
Well,
Where
that-
your guys is a little bit different. So
Well,
mine requires steps where we vote along the way, and if any of those don't happen, it's over. And I'm not
I'm
gonna
gonna
go-
be unrealistic on what I'm gonna say here, Dan. But say
Yeah.
your consultant
Sure.
comes back and says it's gonna cost $2 trillion to
Well,
run.
yeah.
Yeah. It's a no-brainer.
Sure.
Then we gotta decide how we're gonna serve the people.
Yeah, well, then we'll keep going like we are.
Yeah.
Yeah, then we'll have to continue like
Yeah.
we're going, and when you guys all budget $1.6 million in July, and you're wondering how are we gonna pay for this next year?
Well, it's easy.
Then
You
it'll
just take it out of
see-
John's roads.
Well, yeah, well, I mean,
That's what's happened
that's
for the
what, that's
last
what happens.
60 years.
That's what happens, unfortunately, so. And so I guess I could put this elaborate plan in place, but I've done that before on things, and when, you know, it gets voted against, there's really no point to do that, so. I guess I presented this, and if we're on board of moving forward, that's where the planning comes in place,
See-
and really.
From my perspective, you've got your portion put together. And so while, you know, through discussion here today, you know, we found that the formation of a district would be the top priority, or you know, that's the biggest part of that plan. If it was voted down to hire the consultant to go forward with it, I don't know that necessarily you're out of the discussion, you know, with the ambulance. It just does make your planning,
So-
now it's different or maybe even harder, but.
But what's the option then?
Well, one of the other things, and
Yeah.
I'm just throwing
This
this
would be
out,
tougher.
I don't know where we're at on it, but we've got a new ambulance guy coming in. He's indicated that he thought he could save monies, doing certain things. To me, that's an option that we still have to keep on the board.
You know, that's another thing is the billing
Yeah.
process could, you know, you never know, cause they're, like Troy told
Yeah.
me, there's a couple $100,000 that haven't even been built yet from
Yeah,
last year.
But it's,
Yeah.
Dan's right,
Yeah,
it's
and
been way
I'll go-
over.
I'll go talk to him, and I've talked with, you know, we've talked with a bunch of people on it. I mean, when you look at, when 60% of the people you serve, you know, your cost is $500, and the most you can bill through Medicare is $200, and best case scenario, you lose $300 to $400 per call. It's not hard to see that you're gonna run it into the ground. It's a matter of time. And so, you know, I guess I'll have the conversation with them and talk with the new guy. But, you know, talking with the other people, it's a matter of
My boss
time.
would say, well, we'll make up for it, Bob.
Yeah, there's a.
Drive more miles.
When does he start?
Probably the 1st of July.
Okay.
he'll be here before then, but I don't know whether he'll actually start working before.
Well, guys, thanks, a good start, good
We
discussion.
have to do
Gotta
a
adjourn.
adjourn.
Yeah,
We're gonna,
I motion to adjourn.
are we gonna have public
We gotta have
comment? I
one
know
more.
nobody's
Oh,
here,
yeah.
public
I,
comment?
I haven't closed off yet. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Public comment?
I'm
You
a-
gotta have a public
Oh.
comment.
Oh, public comment,
Closing
there
public
is none,
comment.
Gary said.
Yeah,
None, okay.
yeah, so I move to adjourn.
Second.
No, you beat me, Jeff.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are
Aye.
adjourned.
We'll see you guys.
Thanks, everybody.
You bet.
This is not an easy thing. I'm on the one with the Boys and Girls Club.